least today. And anyway, so are there any questions about how at least the what I'm expecting in terms of the homework? I'll put it into groups of 3, unless there's a week of 2, for example, Easter. We'll just have 2, but most of it will be 3, groups of 3. Oh, also test. Weeks with tests, probably just 2. But we'll talk, when the test comes, you'll be anxious enough that you'll be in communication with me, I'm sure. Okay, if not, we'll, let me see, is this microphone, it's really hot. Second. Got myself a really cheap wireless mic, isn't that cool? Got a little light on it, because I was sick of being tethered. Okay, moving on then. If there are no questions, we're going to go on and deal with this. So we have several fun things to do today, but we have some boring stuff too. So we'll do the boring stuff first, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. So the boring stuff is that we have to deal with some definitions, and specifically the definition of what variables we're going to be interested in. And there's a good reason why I'm interested in this, and it has to do with how we do our statistics. So as you go through the course, we're going to be doing certain tasks, and those tasks will vary. I know variables, it will vary depending on the type of variable that you're dealing with. So we have some special names for these, and if you've already done the first homework, then you're going to be bored a little bit, but don't worry. We will get to this. Before we get to those special names, what I want you to do is I'd like you to come up with some variables yourselves. So you might not know what a variable is, if that's fine, but I'll just give you a quick definition. It is something that varies between people. Yes? Oh, okay. Keep it to yourself. But actually, don't keep it to yourself. You're going to talk to someone near you and come up with something that varies. And it can be something that varies between students, or it can be something that varies between classes, or it can be something if you're thinking about TV shows. But anytime we observe a population, a group of things, we can say, look, those things are different because those people are tall and those people are short. And so you have something that varies. So what are some variables that you can think of? And they could have to do with anything. The cost of textbooks, that's a variable, isn't it? So go ahead, take a minute and come up with at least 3 variables with someone near you. And I'll give you a few minutes, and then we'll pick some random people to name some variables. Dante, this is August. August, this is Dante. Jesus, I'm just showing off that I know your names, but also you need someone to talk to. And Alec is behind you. Alec and Abby. Abby, I got it. Gracie, is that right? Amazing. Gracie. Abby over there? Okay, Abby. Avery. Trinity. It's amazing. I have no memory, but I'm going to have, this is going to just solidify. I'll remember your name forever now. So Avery, although this, I have no idea. Kaylin, is that right? Kaylin? Okay, Kaylin, Will, Caleb. All right, I got this side. Boom. Where is that? There it is. Oh, that's better. All right, let's do this. Let's get some variables. I'm just going to pick some randos, and then if you have a variable that's particularly exciting that you want to share with the class, I'm happy for you to just pop it out there. But first of all, let's get Jesus. Tell me about one of your variables. Flavors, that's a beautiful one. So flavor, and I love it that you say, okay, the thing that we're actually talking about the flavor for is the ice cream flavors. So I'll put in parentheses, ice cream. So I guess that Jesus is going to be sampling ice creams at lunch and recording their flavors in your data set. Okay, let's get another random person from my list here. Ethan, what variable do you like? Height. What are you measuring the height of? Okay, so height of people. Notice that we're always going to be interested in some sort of a population. And so, it's kind of important to specify that. But yeah, height is a variable. Very nice. We could also talk about the height of desks or the height of the chair, like how tall the chair is off the ground. And that's a variable in here, even though we all have basically the same chair, but they go up and down. So some of you prefer to be low. Some of you prefer to be high. Onward, let's pick a few more. Gracie, what do you have for your variable? Hair color, very nice. And I assume we're talking about people, but you could also be talking about dogs or other animals, couldn't we? So we could just be people there, P-O-Pol. Good job. Were you thinking about animals or dogs? No, people. Okay, that's fine. Onward, a couple more, and then we'll be, so Kaylin, what do you have for your variable? Eye color, so that's similar. I assume we're talking about people as well, but once again, we could be talking about, I'll just leave off that there. Okay, a couple more. Anna, what do you have for your variable? Ooh, attendance. Nice. So we're talking about the students here, right? So at the end of the semester, or wait, are we talking about whether you are here or not on a particular day, or how many times you came to class? Okay. So actually, I kind of like, I'm going to put them both down. How many? And then, are you here? Yes. Are you here? If only I could write properly. Okay. Now, does anyone else have a variable that they think, I knew you would, Hayden? What do you have, Hayden? Myers-Briggs. Okay. So your Myers-Briggs, ISTJ, if you're curious. Myers-Briggs. So this is, if you aren't familiar with this is this sort of popular personality typing. So now Hayden knows exactly who I am because I've told him my 4 letters. What else? Any other people that are just like, this is hilarious, or maybe this is really cool that you want to share? Variables, things that vary. It's fine. That's fine. If you don't, let's move on. So once we have these variables, we have a pretty good list here. We're going to be classifying them, categorizing them as certain types of variables. Hayden has already gotten a little ahead of us here on that score. And there are 2, well, really there's just one way, but we're going to focus on, you're going to think of it as 2 different ways of categorizing these. They're really just subsets of one another, or they're related. So the first one is called levels of measurement. So we're going to talk about the level of measurement. And so you can think about, how do we measure these things? Do we measure them with a yardstick where you have numbers like marked off? How do we measure these things? So how do you measure these things? This is called the level of measurement. And so there are 4 levels of measurement. And we start with the nominal scale level. By the way, these things get more and more, maybe you can think of them as a finer and finer view of the variable as you go down the scale. Every variable could be called nominal, every variable. So it's kind of like, shapes, and then you have rectangles and you have squares. All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. But anyway, nominal level just means it's what it sounds like. It's names. So this would be names or categories, or whatever. So if you can put things into categories or names, then you have a nominal scale level. Going back here to your things, I'll just pick one of them. Hair color is a good nominal scale variable because we put people into categories. They have either brown hair, red hair, blonde hair, blue hair, purple hair, and so forth. So you can pick your color, and that's your hair. Nominal. The next one is ordinal. These are ordered. Sorry. Man, I need to wear my glasses. So this would be like small, medium, large. So if there is some logical way that you can put people in order based on the category, then we call it nominal, or no, ordinal, sorry, ordinal. It's an ordering. What do you think, Hayden? That is ordinal, yes. So Likert scales, if you're familiar with that term, these are when you have a survey and you know, do you strongly disagree? Do you disagree? Do you neutral? That sort of thing. That is an ordinal scale. Yeah, exactly. So, although Myers-Briggs is nominal because ISTJ is not better than ENFP, for example. You know, it's not. You don't have an ordering. Yeah. I know what you're saying. So in the way that they come up with their little thing. But anyway, so ordinal scale is ordering. Unfortunately, I don't think any of these are ordinal. I know that some of you might claim that eye color is ordinal. Although I guess that you could go talk about genetics, and genetically, brown is superior to blue, is it not? Because of the dominance of the brown gene over the blue gene? Height? Height would be ordinal, yeah. But it's also the next one. So yeah, I guess I picked hair color for nominal because it's not ordinal and it's not the next one. So yeah, you're right though, height. You can put people in order. That's a good point. So thank you. Getting back, the next one is interval. Interval scale are numbers. So interval scale, and I really can't do interval without talking about ratio scale. So let's put these together just briefly. So both of these are numbers. So these are numbers. But the difference, whoops, well, that was dumb. Well, that's the way it goes. Anyway, the difference between the two is that the ratio scale, it makes sense to talk about ratios. So I guess one way you can think of this is as you go down this scale, we have nominal, those are categories. And we could put people into categories based on their height, for example. People are tall, people are short, whatever. Next, you could talk about ordinal scale. This is ordering, so you could have people in categories based on their height, and those would be in order from short to tall. Interval scale, what that is referring to is that it makes sense to talk about the difference between two individuals using that scale. So differences make sense. So differences make sense. That's why we call it interval, because there's an interval between myself and you. So I'm 73 inches. Okay, I used to be 73 inches, but I've gotten older. I'm now about 72 inches, but my license still says 73. I was showing it to my wife recently, and she said, wait a minute, you lied? And I said, no, I just haven't updated. So, but anyway, so you can figure out how tall you are. There is an interval. You could say that you are 3 inches taller than me, 2 inches shorter than me. Whichever it is, it makes sense to talk about those differences. Finally, ratio scale, and bear in mind that these things become more and more specific as you go down. So everything that is ratio is also interval. So every ratio scale also differences will make sense. So the special thing about ratio scale is that that ratios make sense. So ratios make sense. Okay, we'll talk about that just briefly. So what that means is that if I say that I am twice as tall as my daughter, which I was at one point in my life, I remember she was 36 inches tall. I was about 72 or 73, close enough. I was very excited about this moment because I was not only twice as tall as her, but I was 8 times her mass. Scientists here will understand the proportionality of volume versus height, but whatever, you can think about that later. Anyway, it's an exciting moment. So both of those make sense for me to say that I was 8 times my daughter's mass and I'm twice her height. Both of those make sense. So both of those are ratio. Some things that don't make sense in terms of numbers, interval scale, is if we take our birth years. So my birth year is probably approximately 30 years, 35 years, 40 years 40 years before your birth year, depending on how old you are, 40 years. Sorry, I have to keep adjusting as I get older, and you don't get older, at least the people sitting in front of me don't. So I'm about 38 years. So my birth year is 38 years before your birth year. So that makes sense, right? I could write that down. It doesn't make sense for me to say that my birth year is 97% of your birth year. You know, I suppose I could, but there are a couple of problems with that. Is there are different calendars. So we use the Gregorian calendar, and so we have our 0 year would be, well, there is no 0 year, but it would be about 2025 years ago would be our 0 year. But there is the Chinese calendar, there are other calendars. And in each of those calendars, the difference would be the same between my birth year and your birth year. But the ratios, this 97% of your birth year, it doesn't really make sense. So, birth year, differences make sense, but ratios don't make sense. However, age, differences make sense, and ratios make sense. I can say that I am, I have to think for a minute, 3 times your age? Yeah, I'm 3 times your age, about. I know some of you are older, and you're like, are you 64? No, I'm not that old. But I'm definitely 3 times some of you. So that makes sense. Ratios make sense when talking about age. Okay, let's go on and see if we can identify some of these going back here. We have the flavor of ice cream, of course, that one is nominal. Although I suppose that if you are sane, you might say that it is ordinal because, of course, vanilla is the best flavor and every other flavor is just vanilla with stuff put in. Height of people, that, of course, is ratio. Oh, you're going to disagree with me? Okay, we can talk later on this. Oh, I know, there are lots. I would say the artesian vanilla bean. Back down to eye color, we've already talked about this one. This one is nominal. How many? Okay, I like this. So exactly what Hayden mentioned when we were talking about attendance. How many? That one is ratio. Because you could brag to your friend and say, I have been to twice as many classes as you have, or something. That makes sense. And it's also interval, of course, because every ratio variable is also interval. But because you could say that I've been to 3 more classes than you have. But those are numbers. Attendance, are you here? Yes or no? Whoa, that would either be nominal or, I guess you could say that that would be ordinal, because being here is better than not. But yeah, that's going to be, I would call it nominal, though. Anytime there are only 2 options, I would say just default to nominal, because, yeah. And then Myers-Briggs, we already mentioned, is nominal. I have some for you to work out, so let's see where they are. Oh, no, we don't care about that. Here they are. So I want you to come up with so how many do we have here? I better number them. So you can work with your friend if you'd like to. Make a list just with the numbers. You don't have to write down all of these, and tell me what kind of variable each of these is. 6, 7, 8, 9, and oh, there are 9. There is no 10. Okay. So I'll give you a couple of minutes. See if you can work it out with your friend, or if you're a loner, you can do it all by yourself. Dante, this is the little syllabus card I gave everyone. The actual syllabus is online. If you have questions, let me know. All right, we're going to see where we are. I know I didn't give you enough time to do them all, but you can finish it up while we're talking. And we've got Sienna. Sienna, you know textbook prices. What kind of a variable is that? Which one? Oh, wait, who said this? Sienna? Okay, wait, who else said this? I heard it from two places. Oh, you said it. You're not Sienna. Okay, I'll get to you later, Oz. Sienna's going to say interval because intervals make sense. It makes sense to say that your textbook costs $20 more than my textbook. It's also, though, ratio. So I would default to the ratio because it makes sense to say that your textbook costs twice as much as mine. So that one is going to be ratio. Very nice. Good job. Ratio. And sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. Just so you know, when I do this, asking people using my little randomizer to help learn your names, also to keep you on your toes, but not to shame you. If you don't know, I will always feed you the answer one way or another. I will either pretend I don't hear you or whatever, I don't know. Biella? Did I say it right? I got to get it right. Okay, Biella, what about letter grades? How would you classify that? Ordinal. It is ordinal, very nice, because Biella would much prefer an A to a B, right? Of course. So A's are better than B's, B's are better than C's. They are categories, but they are ordinal. Very nice. All right, let's see who's next on the volunteer list here. I've already bugged you. Dante, though. Dante, what do you think of birth years? Nominal. Nominal? So you could categorize the birth years, you're right, but it's even more than that, isn't it? Like if you take my birth year and compare it to your birth year. So when you think of a birth year, what? It's a number, right? Aren't birth years numbers? Yeah, I think he's feeding you the wrong answer on purpose here. So here's Dante's gonna help us. Okay, so Dante, when you think of these things, you should think of them either as categories. Categories are up here, or numbers. Numbers are down here. So birth year, is that a number or a category? Number, yes. I know you think of me as being, oh, that Gen Xer, or maybe you think of me as a baby boomer. Believe me, I am not a baby boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. But so you might have that category in mind, but birth year is a number. So numbers go down here. So Dante, now all you have to do is say, is this number something where differences between them make sense? Well, hopefully they all will be that. Or is it that ratios make sense, where I could say that my birth year is twice your birth year? Does that make sense to say? It really doesn't. Yeah, so you would go down here to the interval. All right, what do you got here, Elizabeth? Yeah. So the interval between the two numbers. Okay, I think maybe it would be, let me defer. Can I defer? And we will get to number 8. Number 8 here, I will answer that question. How about? And I'll ask you for it if that's okay. Okay, so let's get to birth years. This one is interval because, yeah, really, okay, so really I could do this. Let's cross that out. Really what you could do is if you're trying to figure out which variable you say categories versus numbers. When you have a number, does it make sense to say that this number is twice that number? Then you'd say it's ratio. If not, it's interval. So that would be like the default. So you could do it that way, but there's a reason why I need to at least not completely obliterate this differences make sense because of number 8. And if you've looked ahead to number 8, well, everyone's going to be looking at it now. So wait, did you just take a picture of me? Am I going on Instagram? I could pose. Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'm doing my best. Name of the last movie you've seen. Let's get this person here. Abby Larkin. Abby Larkin. Nominal, very good. Now, in the past, I think I woke someone up doing this, and they said, name of the last movie. They're like Frozen. No, I just want to know, is it nominal? Yeah, you're right, nominal. Although that answer is probably less good than other answers, so I'm saying if they said Frozen. Okay, number of students in a particular class. Alec, what do you think of that one? It is ratio. Very good. So you're thinking it's a number, right? It's a number. Quantity. Does it make sense to say that there are twice as many people here than in my afternoon class? You know, you can sort of picture what that means. Twice as many means that half the class is gone in the afternoon. There's only these people. So yeah, very good. So ratio. Good job. All right, pizza flavor. We're almost there. Kirsten, what do you think about pizza flavor?
Nominal, or if you have a hierarchy of
Nice. Yes. Yeah, you're right. I was going to bring it up that if you could rank these, you're right. Bacon is, of course, the best pizza topping, but yeah, pizza. I guess I should call it topping, shouldn't I? Pizza topping. But yeah, generally nominal because we don't want to be judgy about people's choices, right? Okay, dress size. This one's an interesting one to me. Oh, let's see. Who is it? Joshua. Joshua, what do you think of dress size? Ordinal. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so when you're thinking of dress size, what are you thinking about? Like, what's a particular dress size? Okay, yeah, medium, small, medium, large. Yeah. So there was this one, I forget, I don't know if they're still in business now, but in the early 2000s, there was a particular store and they had four sizes. It was 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's it. And 3 was humongous. I just got to tell you, like my mother was so excited. I'm a 2. She's so excited about it. Like, okay, great. But yeah, so this is why dress size is ordinal, even if you put a number to it. So some of you are like, wait, my dress size is 12 or 10 or 8 or 6. Those are dress sizes as well, right? But if, the difference between, so I guess now we could perhaps talk about differences. The difference between a 6 and an 8 is different maybe than the difference between an 8 and a 10. It's really, they're numbers, but they're representing small, medium, and large is what they're doing, at least as far as I can tell. Even your jean size, I discovered recently that my 34 waistline is not 34 inches. I'm closer to 36, even though I wear a 34 jeans. It's just, well, or maybe I wear a 36 now. Yeah, I think I've gotten a little bigger in my old age. Wonder what these are. I'll look later. Okay, yeah, dress size. I would go with ordinal. I don't want to get into argument though, so we'll just put during ordinal. Ordinal. Okay, the time has come. All right, Elizabeth, zip code, how would you categorize that? Okay, so you think of it as numbers, right? It's numbers. So zip codes are numbers. Now here's where this idea of differences make sense is important. And that is if you think of what's our zip code here? Our zip code is 43050. My daughter, one of them, lives in this zip code, 510. That's it. 27510. My other daughter lives in this zip code, 019. Sorry, you'd think I have these memorized. Well, it's actually shocking that I have them memorized, isn't it? 01915. The town I grew up in is this zip code, 14420. Okay, so here's what I want to ask about these zip codes. So you have our zip code on top. This is my oldest daughter where she lives. Here's my middle daughter where she lives. This is the town I grew up in. Which of these is closest to Mount Vernon? Does anyone know? Yeah, it would make sense, right? If this was an interval scale, then the difference would make sense. You would be able to glean some information from the difference between the zip codes, right? But differences don't make sense in zip codes. In fact, the closest zip code to us of these three is actually this one. This is near Rochester, New York. This is Chapel Hill, North Carolina. This is Boston. So in proximity, it's much closer to get to Rochester, about a 5.5 hour drive. Actually, I was west side of Rochester. Yeah. 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 But okay, but let's go with that. 43026, 43026, and then 43058. How about those? Which one's closer? I don't know. Yeah, see, the thing is that zip codes are categories. They're categories. So these are, every now and then you'll have a number that is masquerading as an interval variable, but it's not. So zip code is not interval. It's just a category. This is nominal. So nominal, you might be able to argue that zip code, nominal, zip code is ordinal because zip codes are arranged. You have the zeros up in Maine and Massachusetts, and they flow generally to the west so that the nines are over in California. So you have zeros, ones, so New York State, down the eastern seaboard, the twos are in North Carolina, and then the threes, and then we move over to the fours and fives, and then we get all the way over to the west coast, and you have the eights and the nines. But other than that, yeah, it's not really their categories. So I would go with ordinal, or I'm sorry, nominal, maybe ordinal. One more, distance from school. Let's get this last one here. Let's see. I already picked on you. Will, I didn't pick on you, Will. What do you think? What about distance from school? First of all, is it a category or a number? It is a number. So when you think about how far you drove to get here, either today or yesterday or last week, how would you compare that when you compare it to me, that it took me, I'm 2 miles away? So does it make sense to say that you are a certain, interval distance? Does it make sense to say that you're twice as far, 3 times as far? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It makes sense to say that you're 5 times as far as from school as I am. So because that makes sense, we're going to call that ratio. Now, thankfully for us, this is a little bit nitpicky, and we aren't going to be really spending a lot of time using those categories. So this is one way to categorize things, but in general, what I'm going to care about is this. Going back to our little thing here, nominal and ordinal, those two are one type of variable, and then the other two are another type of variable. So that's how we're really going to be focused. And because of the way Newton is set up, I have to do this. But what I really care about is this. Here we have categories. So categories go up there, and numbers with a little asterisk go down there. And the reason for their asterisk is that there are some numbers that are pretending to be numbers, but they really aren't, like the zip code, sometimes sizing, 0, 1, 2, 3. It's not really a number, it's really a category. Okay, so with that in mind, here is the data types that we're going to be focused on. Qualitative are categories. So those top two categories are categories. The bottom two that we had are numbers. They are quantitative numbers. Honestly, this is all I really care about. If you learn that from today, that's what I care about. But Newton cares more. Apparently, Newton cares more about you than I do. Hard to believe. But so these two are the two things that I'm focused on. And there is some nuance with the quantitative that is a little bit annoying, but once again, I have to pick. I'm not able to pick. With the homework, I can't eliminate certain things. So there's this little nuance that we're going to have to deal with. And that is that when you're dealing with numbers, those numbers could either be discrete or they could be continuous. Now, when I say discrete, I'm not talking about wearing proper clothing or something like that. This is a different word. Discrete here refers to the idea that there are gaps between the different numbers. Shoe size is a good example of this. Whether you're using Euro shoe size or American shoe size, your shoe size is going to be, for example, 13, 12 and a half, 12, As I've gotten older, I've gone from 12 to 12 and a half, and now I feel more comfortable in 13s, to be honest. But there is no 12 and a quarter, at least not that I'm aware of. But even if there was, I would still say that shoe size is discrete, because there's going to be a point where there is not something in between the two gap, like the 12 and a quarter and 12 and so forth. So discrete means that there are gaps between the numbers. Continuous just means it's a continuum. When you measure something with a tape measure, you might say, well, there are gaps between, but if you had a fine enough measuring stick, you could measure to the 100th of an inch, to the 1,000th of an inch. You could keep going if you had a fine enough. So continuous are measurements where you could, if you had a accurate enough instrument, you could measure it to whatever degree of accuracy you like, whereas discrete just means that the numbers have gaps between them as you go along. So as we go back here, the things like shoe size is discrete, height is continuous, birth year is discrete, because no one talks about their birth year as being 1968.3. It's 1968 or 1969. Not decimal. So discrete, continuous would be things like the temperature today. By the way, temperature is interval, not ratio. And the reason for that is because we have multiple scales. I realize Kelvin has the absolute 0, but depending on your scale, the ratio, for example, like today is the temperature is twice the temperature yesterday in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius it might be half the temperature because you deal with the negative numbers and so forth. So we usually describe temperature as being interval. What do you think, Oz? Yeah, and that's intervals though. They say it's increased by 2 degrees Celsius. It's doubled. Okay, I'm guessing that they're referring to the rate of increase has doubled. I don't know that they're saying that the temperature has doubled. Yeah, interesting. Well, we'd have to drill down into those. So it's an interesting point, though. I hadn't thought of, but I'm guessing that it's more that they're talking about so the rate. I would be happy when someone says the rate of increase is doubling with temperature. That makes sense to me. But to say temperature doubles, it really depends on the scale. Well, average temperature over the entire world or something like that, or at a point, average temperature in Mount Vernon over the entire year. That's fine. No, I'm not going to quibble with their measurements. But anyway, let's move on. I don't want to, like I said, this is what I care about. This, and this. Let's just skip ahead to this. Skip ahead to this slide, because this is why I care about this, is because you're going to have data as we go through the course. You're going to have some data. In fact, hopefully today, if not today, then on Wednesday, we'll start talking about Project 1. But you'll have some data, and you're going to say, is that data qualitative or quantitative? That's really the only thing that we're going to care about moving forward, because if your data is qualitative, think about qualitative categories. Your eye color, is it blue, brown, black, hazel, whatever? You could say the percentage of people who have blue eyes in this class. So percentages and proportions are the thing that we do with qualitative data. We make bar charts and pie charts with qualitative data. We do inferential statistics for qualitative variables for qualitative data. So if you have qualitative data, the things that you do will be different from the things that you do if you have quantitative. Now, if you have quantitative data, then that would be numbers like your height, or our age. Our age would be a quantitative. We could talk about the average, the mean age of people in here. That makes sense. We could talk about proportions of old people, I guess, but really the thing that's more meaningful is to talk about averages. And you certainly cannot talk about the average eye color unless you're going to go to the electromagnetic spectrum and figure out, the wavelength of light bouncing off your eye. But let's not do that. Let's just do percentages for eye color and averages for height and age. Histograms are what we're going to use to display those heights and ages, and we will do inferential statistics for quantitative variables. So understanding the difference between these is what I find the most meaningful and the most important. But unfortunately, you'll still have to suffer through a few questions with those other things because they're embedded in the rest of this. Okay, let me skip ahead. Okay, how about this? Okay, yeah, let's do this now. Okay, on your, oh, do I have it on there yet? Let's find out. Oh, no, I don't have it on there. That's right. Because I haven't yet. Just a minute. Settings. Course. Sorry, it's taking me a minute to goof around up here. I want to make sure it's not up there. Yeah, I don't see it here. Okay, so I'll just speak it to you because I don't want to have to dig it out of my information. I am going to give you a survey this week, and that survey is just to generate some data that we can use for some of the examples in class throughout the semester. Embedded in that survey are boring questions like, what is your age and how many classes you're taking? Those are boring. But you might have ideas for some more exciting questions. So as you think about variable types, hold on a sec, just a minute. Where is it? Back here? Yeah, this one. So quantitative and qualitative. I'd like to add to that some questions that you're interested in. And then I will put it online and I'll send you a homework, or not a homework, an announcement saying where to find it and what to do with it once I get it set up. By the way, once I get it set up, it will become your first quiz grade. You all get 100% on this quiz just for doing the survey. Isn't that easy? And oh, one other thing about anytime I do a survey in here, you need not answer truthfully. I would prefer you to answer truthfully, but I don't want to have to go through the Institutional Review Board and get permission to do this. So it's entertainment survey. How's that? It is not scientific at all, just for fun. So you do what you want with it, but if it's truthful, then it's more fun for everyone, I think. Okay, so what I'd like to know is take a minute and come up with a question for me that you think should be on my survey. And if you can't come up with something good, that's fine. I'll just use the ones I have, but I think probably some of you can come up with some questions that would be interesting to add to my survey. And while you're doing that, I will find my survey so I can show it to you, and you can watch me as I add the questions. So. Okay, got it. Got it. There we go. Okay. All right, I didn't hear a lot of discussion out there, but let me show you what I've got so far. So yeah, I don't know what this is recommended. I'm going to ignore that. So, oh, come on. I don't want any of that. So that's what, okay, so I have gender because I thought, here's my thinking about this, and you can think a little bit more about this, is if we go forward, I'm going to be interested in comparing males with females at some point, like in terms of some of the other questions. So as you look at these other questions, you could say, is there a difference between male and female in terms of their answers to these questions? So your age, once again, I'm just kind of curious, is there a relationship between age and some of the other things I might ask about? This is a short survey, so it's not, I'm halfway there. So at least the questions I have. Semesters completed at MVNU, including this semester. So have you been here? Is this your second semester, your 10th, your 15th, your third, whatever it is? How many siblings do you have? I thought that would be a curious thing to find out. Approximately how many caffeinated beverages do you consume before noon? As in cups of coffee, cans of Red Bull or whatever it is that you guys drink these days. How many pets do you have? And which of the following pets do you have? And I have a big long list. Is that the end? Just a minute. That may be the end. By the way, those, oh yeah, and this one's a boring one, but I want to know is which of the following best describes the laptop computer that you can bring to class? Is it a Windows computer, a MacBook, a Chromebook, etc., blah, blah, blah. So I think I've got just about everything. And then there's an other. There's a section 2 here, but I don't want to show you that yet. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So some of these questions are leftovers from previous years that I thought were funny or interesting. Now, how do I get another question here? Oh, insert new question. That's what I want. Okay, insert new question. I'm ready for you. So what do you want to know about your class? Elizabeth, have you switched your major? Okay, yeah, we can do that. Or how many times? Ooh, let's do that one. How many times? How many times have you switched your major? Question mark. And then I'll put options here, 0, 1, just so that it's easier. Well, okay, whatever. I'll do that later. So we'll have options 3, 4, all the way up to 10. 10. Anyone more than 10? Okay, I had a student who graduated last year who switched his major, I think, 8 times while he was here. And the registrar was so angry. He was my advisee for part of that switching around. And the registrar became quite angry with him at one point. Uncharacteristically, I should say, because our register is lovely. But anyway, let's move on. What else do we want to know? Do we want to add? Hayden, I knew you'd have something. What do you got? I don't care, whatever you're interested in. Ooh, okay. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to put this as a text box. So what kind of vehicle do you drive? Huh. Yeah, so I'm wondering if, or I could put choices here. I'll think about it. Either I'll leave it open-ended or I'll put options. Like, yeah, we would have car, truck, motorcycle, bicycle, van, SUV, bus. Okay, maybe I'll put categories there. That would be more fun because then you could say which category, and I'll put an other if you really think, I ride my horse to school, so I'll put that on there, but I'll put an other for you in case you don't feel like you fit into a category, helicopter or whatever. All right, Abby, what do you think? Okay, so yeah, what make? So we have the make of car, and you also have sort of the type of car. So I feel like that's might be a little bit much to have all of those questions. Yeah, one or the other. Yeah, the make? Well, I was thinking the type of vehicle would be more interesting, wouldn't it? Like you have SUVs. Yeah, you compare. Well, you compare because the problem is that with make, it might be that everyone here has a different make, which is boring, to be honest. If everyone has a different answer, it's actually boring because we can't put people into groups. But I'll bet that there is a contingent of you who drives what you describe as an SUV. Some of you drive what you might call as a car. Is that what we would call it? A sedan? Call it a sedan? Okay, and then some of you have no vehicle or a motorcycle or something. So that would be more, so the more we can group people together. So I'll stick with the type of vehicle. I'll try to word it better. Anything else that you're dying to know about your fellow students that we can put on our survey? Oh yeah, Alec is like, no, I have nothing. It's like the fewer things, yeah, if no one answers, then we can leave early. No, that's not true. Yes, Hayden. Interesting. Okay. Okay, I'll try to come up with something. Let's see. I'll do this as, okay, I'll put it as a choice. So weather. I'll just put it here for now as a placeholder. I'll come up with something. Excellent. All right, now, before I close this, I should mention that when I do send this, oh, you've got something for us? Oh, I like it. Okay, this is good. Answered. Okay, I love that. Do you sleep with socks on? Question mark. Yes or no? At all? Yes. No. Do I put a maybe? Okay, we're gonna put maybe in there. Okay. I like that. Okay, thank you. This is what I'm talking about. I like this. Okay, now we got another one, August. What do you got? Yeah. That's too complicated for me. Oh, well, I'll tell you a story. When I was a child, people would ask, "What's your favorite color?" Right? This is a common question in elementary school. I didn't have a favorite color, and so I had to make one up. And so I have been stalwart in my support of the color red ever since first grade because I needed to. It's not that I prefer red. It's just like, well, it's. I don't know. I don't know if I can go as far as the second favorite color, but I like the question. I like the thought, but I don't know if I'm gonna. I'll think about it though. Maybe I'll throw it up there. Okay, now we got others thrown in here. What do you got, Oz? Okay, another good one. Oh, see, I don't want to make this too long, but okay, we'll do it. No, this is a good one though. When do you shower? When shower? Let's see if the AI can figure out what I should put as my options. Yes, no, or maybe no. So yeah, we've got morning, evening, afternoon, all of the above. Yeah, I'll figure out how to answer. That's a good one though. I like it. What was that? Not at all. Yeah, I can put that down. Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, well, now when I do this, so just as a point of to warn you, when you do fill out this survey, your name will be attached to your answers. However, I will anonymize the responses before I make them available to you once we use this in class. And the only reason why your name will be there is because this is through Microsoft Forms, and it will, when I collect the responses, it will collect your name because you have to log into Microsoft to do this. But it's only so I can give you credit. That's the only reason. It's not to shame anyone. And Elizabeth, so you don't have to worry about being shamed. But what do you got? Okay, relaxing activities types. Okay. No, okay, yeah. Okay, I'll let me put a placeholder for this. Give me a sec. No, I'm feigning exasperation. I'm not exasperated in the least. This is exciting to have more. I think that in previous semesters I haven't had quite as much interest in forming this survey. So I had things like, how many animals do you own? That sort of thing. Okay, so this would be downtime, time, activity, preference. I'll deal with it later. I'll put something up there. All right, you can say something, but I don't know I'm going to add anything in it. Yeah, no. All right, what do you got? Favorite meal? I'm the only reason why it's like, it's a good question. Okay, I'll put it on. Sorry. Okay, this is it though. No more. Favorite meal. Okay, so there's that. So I'll send you an email once I have this ready so that you can deal with it. Okay, one last thing. I'm going to give you a preview because we have 3 minutes now, is that we are going to have a series of projects. Project number 1 is find a data set. On Wednesday, I've actually already uploaded a video of myself doing this weekend, so you can see what it looks like, but I will do it again in class on Wednesday. What you're going to be doing is you're going to find 2 different data sets online. I don't care where they come from, what they look like, other than I want them to have at least 100 observations. I want them to have at least 2 quantitative and 2 qualitative variables, and you should be able to somehow get them in a spreadsheet format. And so eventually you'll be uploading them as not this, well, I'll explain on Wednesday a little bit more detail. I've got a detailed description of it. Basically, if you do it, you get 100. But we'll talk about this more on Wednesday. But if you have a favorite sport or a favorite activity that you can start looking for data sets, you can look online on Moodle to see at least the description of what you're going to be doing. You could even get started on this, but on Wednesday, I will go over this in more detail. So don't forget, there is homework due on Wednesday. If you're still struggling getting hooked up with Newton, stick around or go deal with it. Maybe you've already talked to me. All right, I'm going to stop the recording so that people can't hear your whispered